With the Citi Double Cash Card, you get 1% cash back when you buy and 1% as you pay. That's like the joy of getting 2 W's on the road or catching the home run ball without spilling your drink. Double boom. Double the love with the Citi Double Cash Card. Apply now at Citi.com/doublecash.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
Stugotz's weekend observations are ready.
Yeah.
They will be in 10 minutes. You will get all of the Stugotz observations from a fun and big sports weekend. I imagine some Talib will be in there. Talib again stole Michael Crabtree's chain. It's just unbelievable. Mike, get that sound of Talib telling us the story about how Big Mama, his grandmother, handled business.
What a great scene that was. Just Talib, Crabtree, Lynch escorting Talib off the field.
I don't know if great is the way I would describe it, but it was, yes, it was entertaining. Talib has now had 2 of those. I told you, only time in my life I've been watching professional football and I've backed away from the television is when Talib was fighting Steve Smith because I got a little bit afraid.
Right.
I have sound from the Broncos radio network describing the fight. It did not seem like a nice thing that happened or a cool thing, as Stugotz described.
Well, he said a great thing, and then he downgraded it to entertaining.
Yes.
Right.
Were they appalled? Were the broadcasters appalled?
95-7 the game sounded a little scared as this was happening.
Okay, but they're not the violence that's choreographed that they're good with that sometimes results in people leaving in ambulances or prayer circles with stretchers. That's the violence that they're okay with. It's totally different.
Totally different violence.
This kind of violence is not okay because why? Crabtree's helmet's off and there's an afro.
He's able to trip him up, and Marshawn with a good run. Now there's a fight over on the Broncos sideline. Michael Crabtree is fighting with Aqib Talib. Aqib Talib, I think, went at Michael Crabtree. It's a brawl over on the Broncos sideline, and they are really going at it. They are throwing punches here. Multiple guys are swinging, and officials also.
And now they're still going after Michael Crabtree.
Now they're going after Crabtree. Is fighting Aqib Talib. Crabtree's got his helmet off. They're all going to be ejected, Tom. What? They're all going to be kicked out. Crabtree throwing punches, going after Talib. This has become a street fight. What is going on?
White guys!
Wait a minute.
What?
They were appalled. So they were guys fighting, and so that I hate it when that happens. You're there for one kind of violence, and another kind of violence breaks out.
One that makes you
I know. Wait a minute. I was expecting this kind of violence. Now the helmets are off. Somebody threw a helmet. There's a chain on the floor. Everyone's getting ejected. Crabtree's in the owner's box. Guillermo, put it on the poll. Was Crabtree uncomfortable sitting next to that scarecrow who owns the Raiders? Did we decide that he was a scarecrow or something happened to him at a radioactive place?
I think scarecrow's fine.
Yeah.
Because he's got the hair. It's almost like the straw hat.
Right.
There are a number of things that I want to get to today. Oof. I did find funny, I guess because that UCF-USF game was as good as any I've seen in the sport this season. If you don't know, UCF has a defensive player who has one hand, and they've got a reason, and he's great. Right. He's great.
Yep. Best player on their team?
He's the best defensive player on their team. Shaquem Griffin. We've talked to him before, and he's an amazing story. He causes fumbles without a hand. He has an interception this year without a hand. He's really hard to block. He's relentless. But they've got a pro at quarterback. They've got as fast a man at wide receiver as I've seen. I'm sorry, at running back as I've seen. And they've got a defensive player with one hand. And now their coach, Scott Frost, because he has done this, Central Florida was really bad a couple of seasons ago.
Yes,
really
they were.
bad.
Yep.
One of the worst teams in Division I a couple of seasons ago.
Yeah.
And now their coach is coveted. And he went to Nebraska, and he probably could have had the Florida job if he wanted it.
Sure.
There were over 50 players on this roster right now for Scott Frost that were on that winless team a couple of years ago.
And so what I want to ask you guys is this. As UCF is undefeated and probably feels like they merit, a Final Four appearance. What I wanted to ask you is, I see, maybe you're not familiar with this. Over the weekend, Tennessee was ready to hire Greg Schiano.
Mm-hmm.
His history as a loser evidently didn't dissuade them.
No.
His history as a professional laughingstock. And so Greg Schiano, after they realized, the fan base, or portions of the fan base realized, and now the reason they didn't want him there is because he's Greg Schiano.
Because he's a bad coach, yes.
Right.
That's not the guy they wanted.
But it became something else when they tied him to the Sandusky stuff in a way that feels really uncomfortable and angry mob winning because they just didn't want the unpopular guy. They pinned a sex crime on him when they didn't want Schiano.
They found the reason beyond the fact they didn't want him and that he's a bad coach. I'm sorry to throw around names. Nick Saban has the same things in his past. No one at Tennessee is upset that Tennessee hired Nick Saban.
Okay,
or John Gruden.
No, but what I wanted to ask you this is what I wanted to ask you guys, because Scott Frost is now the next new guy. But what I find funny about this in the Schiano case is that Schiano was once the next new guy, and before that, Butch Jones was the next new guy. Sure. And so I'm just wondering, do you actually believe Jim McElwain was the next new guy? Like Chip Kelly was the next new guy and now gets to be the next new guy again. Do you actually believe that Scott Frost can be Nick Saban? Because it feels to me Al Golden was the next new guy. You went in a place at like Temple. We weren't expecting it. Greg Schiano won in a place like Rutgers. We weren't expecting it. Scott Frost wins at a place like Central Florida. Why do we believe that these people can take it with them?
I don't know. I would say that UCF, what you just pointed out, that it had a bunch of guys on a winless team a few years ago, and now that team is undefeated. That's a pretty big indictment on him being a good coach, right? Not a bad coach. The fact that he did all that winning with a bunch of guys who were on a losing team, and then Kirby Smart was supposed to be the next big thing.
That's not an indictment. That's a testament.
Yes, a testament. Excuse me. I used the wrong word. Kirby Smart was supposed to be the next big thing, and it's worked out. Sometimes it works out. Sometimes it doesn't.
No, but what I'm saying to you is, how do you gauge that one? Okay, you just threw your hands up in the air.
No, I don't know.
I'm asking you to think about it, though. This is what I'm asking you and the audience to do, because Scott Frost is the next new guy. Do you remember that guy at basketball Gulf Coast, Florida Gulf Coast, who made a run in the tournament? Then people thought he could recreate it at USC, and he hasn't been able to. And I don't. Is he even still there, or was he fired? But he was a hot shot coach, because how did Florida Gulf Coast get there? And we gave the credit to the coach. What I'm saying to you is that all of this coach worship is something that afflicts even presidents, management types, all of this nonsense coach worship that is so often wrong.
Andy Ensfield is still there. He went to USC. Dan, he's been very good. I mean, he was 26-10 last year. I mean, they made it to the tournament.
No, but look at the rest of their record. I thought he had been fired because of what was happening when it is before he got there.
It felt like it took him a minute.
It did take him a minute. Okay.
No, it did. He had his first 2 seasons were bad. The last 2 seasons have been very, very good.
So do you believe that that's a recreatable thing? Like, you believe that Scott Frost is going to go to wherever it is that he goes, and that's how he's going to win? Because Nebraska's been hiring the hot new thing every time. Like, they've done this like 4 or 5 times recently.
Right.
Yeah, but to boost your argument, you're citing all the examples where it hasn't panned out. Lord knows there's plenty of examples where it has.
No, but what I'm saying is that I feel like all of it feels random. All of it feels random. McElwain was the hot new guy. And so I guess what I'm asking you is, I'm marveling at what UCF did. I'm marveling that I'm watching what looks like a team full of pros go undefeated. And they've got some special things on that team, including a guy who's got one hand. He's got one hand. And he's out there, a total defensive menace. And I'm just wondering, do you believe, how much are you willing to question your belief in Guy as savior, overlord worshiping CEO, when it fails all the time and we just throw it off to the side because, we'll get the next new guy. Right. How is it that the enthusiasm, Tennessee has already done this. They did it with Butch Jones. Butch Jones was the hot coach.
I mean, I think there are a lot of challenges. I don't know if Scott Frost is that kind of guy. Jim Harbaugh hasn't been that guy at Michigan.
But right? I'm saying if Harbaugh can't do it, why is it something that you believe can be done? If Harbaugh can't do it.
Yeah, but you got to believe. You got to take the guy. Scott Frost has an impressive resume just because they were winless 2 years ago, and he's undefeated now with the same guys, essentially.
I mean, it doesn't work out. You move on to the next guy. I mean, Urban Meyer was the hot next guy. He was the hot new thing, and it worked out at Florida.
I know, and sometimes I know it worked.
You got to hire someone, and you should hire who's considered the best
Let's be clear on your stance here. Should Nebraska hire nobody?
No, this is what I'm saying to you. What I'm saying to you is it's always interesting to me that the resume is just born, that the presidents are finding the same people we would find. The presidents of the university are going after the hot new leader worship guy who would do it the same way we would, which is, hey, who's good that I didn't expect to be good? Hire them.
And he played there.
Dan Le Batard.
Yanni Adebabumbo.
Stugotz.
Giannis Adebabumbo.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Texter writes in, Miami football, please talk about how their average team finally got exposed. You spent hours 2 weeks ago, so when can we let it go now? We spent the whole first hour talking University of Miami football. You can check it out on iTunes, 790theticket.com if you like. But now it is time for Stugotz's weekend observations.
It is time for Stugotz to share his game notes. No one in the media will tell you what happened better than my boy Stu.
Weekend observations is brought to you by Metro PCS. Choose 4 free phones from brands like Samsung, LG, and Motorola when you switch 4 lines to Metro PCS. Sales tax not included. Not valid for numbers currently on the T-Mobile network. Dan, you can't spell overrated without the U. The only person happier about Pitt beating Miami than the Pitt players, coaches, and fans was Dan Le Batard.
That's not true.
That's kind of true.
No.
It's kind of true.
No.
You wanted to be right all season, and now you're right. UCF is the best team in the state.
Well, that's the truth.
For the second time in 3 weeks, my football Saturday was better than my football Sunday. Haven't confirmed yet, but I'm hearing the guy who was behind the Ray Allen catfish story was Rajon Rondo. Dak Prescott. More like Whack Prescott.
There it is.
What happened there?
I mean,
Hey, he's not playing well.
yeah, but
You know what Phillip Rivers carved up for Thanksgiving? The Cowboys defense. Why does Baker Mayfield have to be Johnny Manziel? Why can't he be Phillip Rivers? Here's what I see in Baker Mayfield's future. Down 7th, length of the field to go, and 8 kids. Dak. What do you mean? What happened there?
more Dak joke?
Yeah, I'm not done with Dak yet.
All right.
Dak to Dak to Dak. Awful games for the Cowboys. I know he beat Virginia Tech and Notre Dame, but Mark Richt can't win the big game.
Come on.
If Miami beats Clemson and doesn't get in, I'm quitting college football. Derrick Rose has some cuckoo in him. Baker Mayfield, welcome to the Heisman House. If Baker Mayfield doesn't grab his crotch during his Heisman speech, I'm quitting Baker Mayfield. Ohio State, Michigan, the game. More like the meaningless game. The Cavs are coming. It's amazing how likable Russell Westbrook has become and how unlikable Kevin Durant has become.
Really?
You'd think winning a title would soften Kevin Durant just a bit. But it makes sense. He's still acting like a jerk because I must remind you that Kevin Durant still doesn't have a title in my personal record book. Losses hurt a lot more when all season you've been flaunting around a $50,000 turnover chain. You know who has Nick Saban's number? Gus Malzahn. You know who's Jim Harbaugh's number? Everyone. I threw up after my Thanksgiving meal. Not because I ate too much, because I was watching the Giants offense. Rare is the day you could say that Alabama basketball was better than Alabama football.
They played 3-on-5.
They played 3-on-5 and almost won the game. They were down 20, and they came all the way back playing 3-on-5.
They played 3-on-5 for Avery Johnson and covered?
I think they did cover.
A great cover.
It was a great cover, and it got me thinking. If the Warriors want to impress me, they should play every game with just 3 guys. Win a championship, 3-on-5, and maybe I'll give Durant a ring in my personal record book. The Philadelphia Eagles have that look. Unfortunately, so do the Patriots. 3 reasons there are so few black head coaches in college football. Chip Kelly, Dan Mullen, and Greg Schiano. Know which sheriff should never be in town? The one that plays backup quarterback for the Canes.
Oh, for the love of God.
Dan Tyrod Taylor is back. Unfortunately, so is Alex Smith. I missed Nathan Peterman. Don't look now, but we may have a quarterback controversy in Green Bay. It took Marvin Lewis 12 weeks to realize Joe Mixon is good. Patrick Mahomes, you're up. Blake Bortles can scoot. Blake the Snake. Speaking of snakes, I told you Urban Meyer would slither his way back into the conversation. Death, taxes, Russell Wilson running for his life in a backwards loop for 15 yards every drop back.
It's unbelievable.
It's amazing, right?
It can't be what they called. It can't be.
It's never what they called. He can never just drop back.
He can never do what they told him to do. He just runs backwards in a spiraling loop of death.
The Bears rush for 6 yards. Tariq Cohen. Hopefully for Hanukkah, you'll get a new coach. Julio Jones, welcome back. The Spurs are 12-7 without Tony Parker and Kawhi Leonard. Spoelstra and them boys starting to heat up. Michael Crabtree, you're lucky to be alive today. Michael Crabtree, sleep with one eye open for the remainder of your life. Brady Hoke, 1-3 against Ohio State. Jim Harbaugh, 0-3 against Ohio State. For all the jobs he could leave for, is Jimbo really leaving for Texas A&M? If so, you know what that means. Lane Kiffin, FSU, collision course. FSU, lack of institutional control, collision course. Blue Jackets, Golden Knights, Lord Stanley, collision course. Paxton Lynch has 9 completions for 41 yards. No joke here, just letting you know, Paxton Lynch had 9 completions for 41 yards. Okay, fine. Here's a joke. I haven't seen facial hair struggle that badly on a football field since the Buccaneers changed their logo. Blaine Gabbert, not terrible. Jim Harbaugh, it wasn't terrible. Blaine Gabbert's been pretty good for the Cardinals. A couple of weeks now, he hasn't been terrible. And not terrible for Blaine Gabbert. It's pretty good. Jim Harbaugh, Miami Dolphins, collision course. I'm pretty certain Nick Saban has received 3 raises and a new house over the last 2 days. Ranked number 2 in the country in 3 consecutive days. Losses to unranked NC State. Loses to unranked SMU. Loses to a 2-loss Purdue team by 25 points. But I promise you, none of this was his fault. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the most overrated coach in the country. Let's hear it for Sean Miller. Joel Embiid saying he was 81% after being called out by Jalen Rose when he said he was 69%. With the 81 representing the number of points Kobe put up on Jalen in a single game is the greatest sports diss of all time.
It is funny.
Joel, please win and win big. I want to hear more. But until you win, shut up. Courtesy of Chris Law, Chip Kelly, over the past 7 years, has signed over $100 million in contracts. Courtesy of me, he's won nothing. And coaching is a scam. Speaking of scams...
That's what I was saying last segment. And you guys came at me with, hey, you don't want Nebraska to hire anybody?
I said it better. Speaking of scams, art. Someone bought Leonardo da Vinci's portrait of Christ, Salvator Mundi, for over $450 million. Who the hell is Salvator Mundi, and who the hell is Leonardo da Vinci? Speaking of art and hell,
here we go.
Art Bryles.
There it is!
Dan! Those are the weekend Observations.
King of art and hell.
I just gave up at the end.
Money, 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 money.
I was talking about art and hell, and it put everything together. And it equals Art Briles. Look at this guy.
Don Batard.
Ooh. Guillermo, sassy.
Stugotz.
You're sexy when you're sassy.
This is the Don Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Guillermo, put it on the poll. Why can't Mike Tomlin speak like a normal human being? And then just put yes on the poll. Why can't Mike Tomlin speak like a normal human being?
Splash.
I love how he speaks, though, man. I really do. It doesn't matter what he says. I get goosebumps every time he talks.
Don't do it the way I did it. Change the poll question to, does Mike Tomlin think he's in the military?
I love his buzzwords. Chunk plays, popcorn,
yes.
Splash,
yes.
Fireworks.
Yes.
I mean,
yesterday they survived. That was his big thing after the game.
Got out of the stadium alive?
Well, no, they survived chunk plays. They gave up a bunch of chunk plays and were still good enough to overcome them. Yes.
But he just casually just calls them chunk. Survived a lot of chunk.
Right. He doesn't even use the plays because he's always efficient. That Joel Embiid thing. Joel Embiid is really disrespectful, and I hope that no one knocks it out of him.
Right. Well, he's got to win. Just keep winning.
I mean, he
I don't know if you could do that and lose.
Just stay healthy.
Yeah.
Just stay healthy, and they will win.
Correct. And he'll be great, obviously.
So Alabama basketball played with 3 players against 5, and this is the question I want to put on the poll, and I want to ask the audience and you. Do I win the NCAA tournament with 3 NBA starters and only 3 NBA starters?
Wow.
Can I win the NBA tournament? You're going to ask me a lot of questions. Who are the starters? Right. I'm saying starters. I'm saying not end of the bench guys who just got into the league. I'm talking about 3 starters. I will let you pick 1 all-star.
There are some bad starters out there. Like Jared Jack is starting for the Knicks.
Yeah, but he's going to be better than any college player. Isn't Jared Jack going to be better than any college player right now, given what you're seeing from Fultz and Lonzo Ball in the league? No?
Yeah, I mean, but Jason Tatum.
I mean, he's
going to be better than most.
They're going to be kids.
He's going to be better than most.
Most of the guys coming out of college are kids.
So I get 1 all-star out of the 3?
You get 1 all-star and 2 NBA starters.
So LeBron or
Can I win the tournament that way?
LeBron or Durant is where I'd go with 2 NBA starters. Yeah, I think you're winning the tournament. I do.
It's going to be so hard, like pick and rolls. You got nothing. You got 2 guys double covered all the time. Like you got to find the guy who's not double covered.
Right, because Alabama got back into that game because they were letting them get their shots. They gave them space because they had a big lead anyways. If you have 3 NBA All-Stars, you have to attack them. You can't give them a shot.
Well, he's not even saying All-Stars. You get 1 All-Star and just 2 starters.
Ooh.
2 starters.
Yeah, I didn't give you 3 All-Stars. I gave you 1 All-Star and like a Marquise Morris.
Well, I'm taking... Well, no. I'm taking an All-Star and then borderline All-Stars.
But he's a starter. He's like...
But I'm going to take
guy's never making an All-Star game.
But I'm going to take like LeBron, Durant, and then like a Whiteside or someone like that.
Yeah, if you plug Marquise Morris in college basketball right now, he wins Player of the Year. He wins a Wooden Award, right?
Andre Drummond has never been in an All-Star game, right?
I don't think so.
You put that in the middle of a college court against kids, he's going to look like Shaq.
LeBron, Drummond, Whiteside.
You're going to get a lot of fouls, but you're going to send Drummond to the line all game. He's going to get 38 points on 100 free throws, 38% shooting from the line. He's going to get 100 free throws, and it's going to eventually be 3 on their 3 because all your guys are going to foul out.
Drummond was an All-Star in 2016, so last year.
I'd be okay with the NBA having a power play. Like you mentioned.
5 on 4?
Yeah, like 2 minutes. I mean, Guillermo, put that on the poll. Would you be okay with the NBA having a power play? Like for flagrant fouls. Yeah. Just for flagrant fouls. Instead of making it, 1 free throw and an ejection, what you make it is not you're playing the next 2 minutes 4 on 5.
Right. Now,
when you like that?
Well, in hockey, when you score, the power play's over, right? So in the NBA, does that happen? You just get the full 2 minutes.
2 nonstop minutes.
Okay.
4 on 5.
Kind of like it.
Joel, please be good. You need, I want, who's the last guy? Was it Terrell Owens? Rodman? The last guy who's great, everyone knows he's great, and he's also wildly disrespectful and embraces it, just stays there.
I don't think, was Richard Sherman, he was disrespectful to Colin Kaepernick and that Niner team, and it became a national scandal with how disrespectful
he was. Disrespectful, yeah, on occasion, but he's grown up some.
Who was that guy? I'm trying to think.
Did you see what Joel Embiid did the other day where he blocked the shot and stared at the dude?
Yeah, and the dude got up and shoved him.
And then he flopped, and then he played to the crowd.
Yeah, Embiid sort of deserved that. That was mad disrespectful.
I know, but he's a jerk, and I like it, though. It seems he's such a benign jerk. Like, he's a playful jerk, right? It's a playful jerk.
Yes.
It's not a jackhole. It's a playful jerk.
Because people are sending in their 3. I mean, LeBron is the constant in all of this, but has Embiid made an All-Star game? Because a lot of people are saying LeBron, Ben Simmons, and Embiid.
Yeah, I mean that is kind of cheating, and yeah, you'd probably win the tournament. All right, make it that too, Guillermo. Put that up there. LeBron, Ben Simmons, and Embiid. They're gonna get tired, man.
Well, LeBron never gets tired.
That's true.
Don Le Batard.
Did you love the Joker's Wild? 61% of the audience said no.
Oh, you damn young people, soaring with so much ignorance.
Stugotz.
You don't even know what we're talking about. The Joker's Wild is the truth, man. Stay woke.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Guillermo, is your useless sound montage going to be ready by next segment? All right, so next segment, Guillermo's long-awaited useless sound montage from the NFL weekend. I don't know if what I'm about to say is true, but I'm rooting for it to be true and hoping for it to be true, and it's reckless, so let's fire off something Stugotzian.
It is time to find out who in the sports has no redeeming qualities and is generally unlikable.
Come on.
Let's see who acted most like a Stugotz.
A texter writes in, and please tell me this is true, Mike. Is there anything more Stugotz than Greg Schiano asking Tennessee for the full buyout amount of a job that he was negotiating to accept? I don't know if that's true. I want to believe that it's true.
There's been a lot of hearsay regarding the memo that both parties have apparently signed. I haven't seen officially that he's asking for that. However, I did read a piece in SI that said if all the parties that needed to sign that document had signed it, technically, Schiano can sue them for all the money.
That's great.
He should. I mean, they made an agreement. It was a memorandum. I mean, that feels and sounds really important, right?
All of that happening in Tennessee, if you're just joining us and you hadn't heard about this story, Butch Jones was fired a few weeks ago. Greg Schiano was going to be the new guy for Tennessee. They'd agreed to things on memos and napkins, and then like 10 people ran on the campus and called him, pedophile names because he was part of Sandusky's staff. And Tennessee, I guess, after signing that cocktail napkin, somebody looked up and was like, wait a minute, we're hiring Greg Schiano. Like, what?
Right.
Why?
Yes. I mean, Tennessee fans found something, larger than him just being a bad football coach. They found something that would resonate with a lot of people, and it did.
Yeah.
It resonated with the University of Tennessee.
It does seem a little convenient, though. It seems like a convenient thing to be spray painting on rocks right now.
Yes.
They just don't want him, and Tennessee listened to its customers. And I'm not sure Tennessee should listen to its customers. I don't think sports is the business where. What do you think? You think sports is the business where you should listen to your customers as it relates to the on-field product? I
think occasionally you should, and in this case, I have no issue. I have an issue with the way Tennessee fans went about it because, the things they wrote on the rocks, the messages, the signs. But this is a bad football coach. Like, when I heard they had hired Greg Schiano, I'm like, you're Tennessee, and this is the best you can do.
You know what I love about that, though? Do you realize
he's 11 games under 500, I believe, for his coaching career.
You realize Greg Schiano was Scott Frost. You do realize that, right?
Yes.
He won at Rutgers. Nobody's ever won at Rutgers.
I understand that.
He had James Gandolfini recruiting for him. He had Tony Soprano recruiting for him. I just love that, though, the idea that I've lived long enough to see the next Scott Frost.
I mean, I'm looking at it right now. You're right. He did. It took him a minute, but he eventually did win. He had an 11-2 season at Rutgers.
No, that's why he was the hot boy wonder, and now he's a loser. Like, I've been alive long enough to see the whole thing. Like, he was boy wonder, and now he's guy that they stick bogus charges to. just because they don't want him. 100 people, and then all of a sudden Tennessee, the president of Tennessee is like, oh, there's 100 people on my campus. Oh, they're waving Xia No. He's got an unfortunate last name.
Mm-hmm.
They're putting up the no. Who else has got an unfortunate last name? Who else is somebody that you wouldn't want to hire based on their name because people could show up on your campus with placards making fun? Say Xia No, and then the no gets bigger. I wanted to ask you something about our buddy McVay, the beautiful coach of the Los Angeles Rams.
Oh, he's dreamy.
I mean, you're knocking the hot thing. He was the hot thing.
That is the hot thing.
But so was McDermott.
True.
And he gave us that whole Nathan Peterman experience.
Yeah,
but he's back now.
Yeah, he is.
Yep.
And what resolve by that staff to win now with Tyrod Taylor really got the most out of him. Inspired.
This is what I love. How old is McVay? 31, 32?
He's younger than I am. Jeez.
How old is he?
31, I read the last.
That's crazy.
That's nuts.
31. Yes.
But this is what I loved about 31-year-old Sean McVay, the coach of the Rams. I'm calling him McVay because he's a babe.
His eyes?
Yeah, that's one of the things that I love about it.
He gets that beard trimmed every day.
Yes, he
on
does.
point.
Yep. Yes, he does.
But this is what I loved. They're up 10 against New Orleans, and they've got the ball with like 6 minutes left. They're up 10, and every damn coach in that league but Belichick starts running the ball, and he just kept throwing it. Every damn coach in that league starts trying to get to the timeouts, starts playing afraid, starts getting to, I just want to squeeze the air out of the football. And McVay, 31-year-old McVay, kept throwing back his second-year quarterback and saying, nope, keep throwing against this Saints defense. Keep doing it, and kept the ball the rest. They just kept the ball from the 6-minute mark to the 2-minute mark.
Yeah, New Orleans is missing both their corners. We're going to keep throwing.
It was, but so many people in that situation, up 10 at home, 6 minutes left, you have the ball. That's 3 running plays. 3 running plays inbounds.
You play it safe. He's not scared, and he's not afraid to let his quarterback just play.
Crazy.
Yes.
He's 31.
I know.
How's the guy who's not scared the guy who's 30 bleeping 1? All these old people scared. Look, Andy Reid doesn't want to go to his young quarterback. Why? Scared. And he's one of the brave ones. Andy Reid is one of the bravest in the game. I hate coaches so much.